today's lecture encompasses the outlines of the architectural development took place especially under the Aurangzeb. Generally there is a debate going on that the reign of Aurangzeb can be considered as a period of architectural decay. The historians, they are divided on this issue, but majority of the historians, they agreed with this point. Aurangzeb's reign is characterized with the decay of architecture. You know very well that the reign of Aurangzeb can be considered as a beginning of the decline of Mughal Empire. A number of the scholars propounded their own opinion and theories which center around the reign of Aurangzeb. Some say it's Aurangzeb, during the Aurangzeb, agrarian crisis emerges that caused the decay of whole Mughal Empire. And this agrarian crisis is because of the inherent policies of the Mughal revenue system that touched the zenith under the Aurangzeb. While some other scholars, they are of the opinion that under the Aurangzeb there is a breakdown of the nobility started. A system of the Jagir got you can say decayed, and a Jagirdari crisis, a term has been used by a scholar to put forward the beginning of the decline of Mughal Empire under the Aurangzeb. Some other scholars, they are of the opinion that it's a personality of the Aurangzeb which led the decline of the Mughal Empire because of his own policies. And among them, William Irwin and Jadunath Sarkar, they lead the group. While some other scholars, they attempted to trace the decline of the Mughal Empire by citing the not only revenue policy, but the economic policy of the Aurangzeb, which caused the destruction of the Mughal Empire. The result is that the reign of Aurangzeb was considered as a focal point of the Mughal Empire in the context of its decline. These scholars, one thing is common among the different theories of the decline propounded by these different scholars, that now it got momentum during the reign of Aurangzeb. Now the question arises, with the decline of Mughal Empire, what was the position of architecture, Mughal architecture? Mughal architecture, especially which the school of Mughal architecture, its formation started by Babur, but the actual foundation took place under Akbar. Everybody knows the Mughal architecture continued to develop. It's not at any point a stagnated style. And Mughal architecture have a lot of indigenous influences and a lot of foreign influences. A composite architectural features develop under Akbar, and this movement to synthesize the different architectural styles continue under the Jahangir. Under the Jahangir, even in under the Akbar, then under the Jahangir, even there is a revolution in the building material, in the use of a building material. So far as the building technology is concerned, now Akbar started a synthesis of the different technology. A feasible technology was adopted in case of the field of Mughal architecture. But and a large number of the monuments constructed, even Babur is having a very short period of reign, 4 years. During that, he was able to construct more than 10 charbags and more than 7 or 8 mosques were constructed by the Babur. But under Akbar, a large number of the structure of buried nature were commissioned by the Akbar. And a number of the towns, they got developed under Akbar because of, not because of their commercial importance, but because of the building of a monuments there. And same was happened with Jahangir and Shahjahan. Under the Shahjahan, this Mughal architecture touched the zenith, touched the highest limit. And Mughal architecture and building technology was attained the highest point in the scale of development, not only from the point of view of the architecture, but from the point of view of the technology, from the point of view of the, you can say, the material. If we compare the number of the buildings built by Aurangzeb or under the Aurangzeb, we come across under Aurangzeb a few buildings, hardly 4-5 buildings, 6-7 buildings were built. And their number is so small. If we make a comparison with the number of the buildings built under Shahjahan, Jahangir and Akbar. And this thing is very noticeable. So far as the Mughal architecture and buildings are concerned, till Aurangzeb, till the time when Aurangzeb came on the throne, by that time buildings were representing, or their construction were largely controlled by the throne. It's a imperial, you can say, project. And this imperial project was initiated by the emperor himself, whether this is a tomb of Humayun or Red Fort at Agra, Fort at Lahore, and even the tomb building of Akbar, he himself constructed, started its construction during his own lifetime. And the imperial ruler, emperor, he involved himself. And same is the condition during the Jahangir. Jahangir took a personal interest. And a number of the projects started under Jahangir by himself. And this tendency became on a large scale when we approach the period of Shahjahan. Shahjahan initiated a number of the building projects like Taj Mahal, like Red Fort at Delhi, Shahjahanabad, and the Jama Masjid at Delhi, and so many buildings. And Shahjahan, he himself involved. It's a personal conviction of the rulers, and they gave the direction to the architecture, and their own taste, their own, you can say, likings also involved in these architectures. And one of the great example is that Red Fort at Agra was constructed by Akbar. More than 500 buildings were constructed by Akbar himself. But when Shahjahan came on the throne, leaving 4 buildings, rest of the buildings were razed to ground and, you can say, rebuilt by Shahjahan, and his own likings, his own mood involved in it, and his own type of the things. So one thing is quite clear: in the development of the Mughal architecture, these building projects were largely controlled by the throne, and it involved the individual conviction of the rulers themselves. And the architectural style, whether under Akbar, Jahangir or Shahjahan, it represents the mood of imperial personage. It represents the personal inducement. Like Shahjahan, like a white color, so he preferred to build a building with white marble or plastered with white, you can say, white cell powder. Here one thing is quite clear. These rulers, they decided the trend of the architectural development. And till 1526 and the time when Aurangzeb came on the throne, during this period, Mughal architecture was characterized with a number of the features, number of the characteristic features like a good planning, and before initiating the constructions, a very appropriate plan had to be developed, and if plan was very good, then its superb execution was also found in Mughal architecture. These Mughal monuments are subjected to a bilateral symmetry that needs a application of the mathematical calculation. The proportions, so far as the proportion of the buildings are concerned, these proportions are very fine, and again it is subjected to the use of mathematical calculation, and these mathematical calculation makes a building perfectly bilaterally symmetrical and having a fine proportion. Apart from it, the feasibility of the structure in Mughal architecture was done by structural analysis, and this Mughal architecture before Aurangzeb was known for the use of gold building material. Under Akbar, red sandstone was used. Red sandstone of 5 granules were used. And under Jahangir, white marble started to put into the use, and Shahjahan was completely used the white marble and plaster of the white cell powder. And these structures were also not only architectural property these structures now containing, but so far as their ornamentation and decoration is concerned, these Mughal buildings even before Aurangzeb were subjected to the very, you can say, a very superfine ornamentation and decoration. This ornamentation and decoration filled the void of the surfaces of the Mughal buildings, but this ornamentation and decoration never superseded the architectural property of the building. It means that the Mughal architecture before the Aurangzeb was truly a represent a true architecture and building technology. Even Mughal buildings were paid great attention so far as the skyline has been concerned. They are subjected to a dome and sometimes surrounded by the minars. Everything has been taken into consideration so far as the skyline is concerned. To sum up, we can say before Aurangzeb, Mughal architecture, Mughal buildings were developed as a fully developed concept. These buildings themselves provide a full concept, and the result is that never ornamentation and decoration was so prominent by making a compromise with the architectural properties. The monuments were subjected to bear the architectural properties in a very good way. Then ornamentation and decoration became secondary to the architecture. And now what was happened after the when Aurangzeb came on the throne? Unfortunately, whatever have been achieved on the name of Mughal architecture, we never come across in a very few number of the buildings which were constructed by Aurangzeb, or these buildings were constructed under Aurangzeb. But one thing is quite clear, suddenly with the beginning of the Aurangzeb, such a development in the architectural Mughal architecture started to lose its luster. We don't, under the Aurangzeb, though built a very few buildings, what they were characterized with is something that is totally indicated the decay. Like as a concept, buildings cannot be studied. There is a deficiency in their concept, whether it's a mausoleum or a mosque. But as a concept, they were losing. They were simply an imitation of the old buildings without having any, you can say, the proper characteristics. Meaning by there is a deterioration of the styles. The style was started to deteriorate on a large scale. And from the time of the Babur, then under Akbar, then Jahangir and Shahjahan, Mughal architecture subjected to continue having a freshness and new innovations. But under Aurangzeb, we didn't come back across any freshness in the architectural projects and no innovations in the field of architecture we can come across. And as a style, the style involved in these structure can be considered as a deterioration. No innovation took place. It indicated the lacking of the use of advanced science and technology. The reason is quite clear. Now, the emperor didn't initiate any mega project and having no interest in it at all. Another important point where we can say that the structures under Aurangzeb cannot be considered as a representatives of the great Mughal architecture developed up till Shahjahan. One important point is the replacement of luxury materials such as marble or red stone with rough stone and reuse of old bricks. And under Akbar, red sandstone was used. Under Jahangir, red sandstone along with white marble was used. And under Shahjahan, marble on a large scale was used. And these under these 3 or 4 rulers, old bricks have never been used if it has been used only in foundation. But in case of the structure built by Aurangzeb or built under Aurangzeb, we found the use of rough stones, not dressed stones, not fully dressed stones, and reuse of old bricks, Shahjahani bricks. It indicated the decay in the field of architecture. The Mughal buildings were subjected to a great decoration, whether it is executed in carving or in inlay or in other technique, and whatever the themes they have executed. But now there is a replacement of this great architectural, great decoration and ornamentation with that of decorated and painted stucco, which was unattractive in effect. Earlier, the buildings were subjected to the ornamentation with the themes of Chini Khana motif, floral decoration, arabesque, calligraphy, and now these all are executed in inlay, executed with the technique of carving. But now everything has been lost, and the buildings of the Aurangzeb are generally having a stucco which is carrying a paintings. And another important aspect which indicated that there is a decay in architecture is the intrusion of Deccani style into Mughal architecture. Deccani style, generally the dome is kept in the flown lotus. This thing we found in case of the structure of Aurangzeb. One thing, to sum up this discussion, one thing is quite clear. A number of the structures built by Aurangzeb is very, very few, very, very small in the comparison of the buildings which were built under Akbar, Jahangir or Shahjahan. Secondly, there is a compromise on architectural thesis, synthesis, and no innovations found. One thing is quite clear, Now, to sum up this whole discussion, we can say the Aurangzeb reign is truly a period of architectural decay. So far as we can provide some evidences, we have some examples of the buildings which were built under Aurangzeb, like Bibi Ka Roja, Mausoleum of Raviz Durrani at Aurangabad, second Badshai Masjid at Lahore, Meena Masjid in Red Fort, Agra, Moti Masjid in Red Fort, Delhi. And so far as the Badshai Masjid, Meena Masjid, Moti Masjids are concerned, we have already discussed in some other lectures. Now we try to discuss the Bibi Ka Roja that make us very clear about the decay of architecture under the Aurangzeb. Bibi Ka Roja, it is existed in Aurangabad, and its construction was started in 1658 and got completed in 1601. This is a tomb building of the Aurangzeb's first wife. Her true name is Dilras Banu Begum, who also got the title of Rabia ud Durrani. You know, this is as per this, she is the daughter. Rabia ud Durrani is the daughter of Mirza Baduj Jama Safvi. He was also given a title of Shahnawaz Khan. He came from Iran. Dilras Banu Begum, she was died on 8th October 1657, and Aurangzeb ordered his son Azam Shah to build a tomb building over the mortal remains of his wife. And this structure, the mausoleum of the Rabia ud Durrani, resembles to the Taj, but it is a very impoverished if we make a comparison with the Taj. This Rabia ud Durrani is also known as Dakhani Taj. And this building existed in a Charbagh setting. It is existed in the center of the Charbagh, where the two main axes cut each other. This Charbagh is surrounded by the enclosures, and enclosures on the south side in the at the cardinal point, having a main entrance, and this whole structure is divided into quarters with the help of the running water channels and walkways. And at the cardinal point, structures were built just to give the symmetry to this. And the enclosures of this Charbagh was having a basins surmounted by the chhatris at the four corners. And this Charbagh is built on an oblong plan, and it aligned to the north-south axis, and north-south axis, and only a gateway is provided at the cardinal point of the eastern wing, while southern wing, while east and western wings are occupied by the pillared pavilion, and even the western cardinal point is also occupied by the pavilion. And these pavilion at the cardinal points and the gateway at the southern cardinal point created just to give a, you can say, some sort of the enclosures. And this high enclosure wall is surmounted by the battlement and the basins at regular interval. These basins generally built at the regular distance, at a regular interval, just to give a extra strength to this Charbagh enclosures. In the center, this building is existed. The main structure is existed on a square platform. This square platform, its four corners are occupied by the minars, and this platform can be approached. The terrace of this platform can be approached. By a flight of steps from three sides, As on western side, it is occupied by western side, we have a mosque here. And the corner minars, these corner minars are three-storied. The lowest story is merged with the platform lower, and the first story is having a cornice at the half of its elevation, and above it is surmounted by the projected balconies supported on and based on a corbelling support. The second story, it's a octagonal towers and little bit deviated when you go up. And the second story at the halfway is also having a cornice. And so far as the third story is concerned, third story is built in the form of a domed pillared pavilion, and it is octagonal on plan. It is based on a projected balcony supporting on the corbel. And above, the dome is very prominent, and the dome is crowned with the inverted lotus petals and a finial. The four minarets built like a Taj, but these minarets lost its elegance. So far as the main structure is concerned, now this is a plan of the platform. Now you see these four minarets where the three sides, with these three sides of the octagon merged with the platform, and these staircases are accommodated the spiral staircases to go up. And on this platform in the center existed a main structure of the mausoleum of the Ravi Durra, main structure of the Ravi Durrani. And here one thing is quite important. On the three sides, on the eastern, northern, and southern sides, in front of the cardinal sides of the main structure, the water ponds were built, while on the western side a mosque was built on the same platform. So far as the main mausoleum is concerned, it was built on a hast-based plan, and this hast-based plan gave us some modification in the center, having a octagonal chamber and surrounded by four corner chambers, and at the cardinal points having a oblong pistak. And so far as its corners are concerned, like Taj, it was not chamfered. It was not chamfered, but corners are occupied by squarish minars, and these minars are having a floatings. So far as the facades of this main mausoleums are concerned, all four facades are alike to each other. In the center having a pistak, and a engraved great arch was built, which in itself accommodated a half-domed portal, and in the lower story of this half-domed portal having a arched entrance which provided entrance to the central octagonal chamber. Above this arched entrance, there is a one arched opening was provided, and this great arch of the pistak was placed in a rectangular frame, and the spandrels of this great arch are engraved with floral designs. This pistak is having two wings on both sides, flanking wings. Each wing is having a double-storied alcove, and these open in its corner chambers, and the chambers are surmounted by a domed pillared pavilion. Of course, it was built on an octagonal. So far as the corner minars are concerned, they are surmounted by a octagonal minars above, and it was elevated to such a height so it can break the monotony of the central dome and the domed pillared pavilion built at the corner, and it was surmounted by the domed very miniature domed pillared pavilion. And the central chamber of this mausoleum was surmounted by the dome, by a dome which was placed on a circular drum, and this dome is crowned by a inverted lotus and finials above. This is a terrace plan. Now you see terrace plan makes you clear about the chhatris which built on the corner chambers, and the central chamber is having a dome. And it's a skyline. Now you see the base of the dome is inscribed with a guldasta type of the motif. Same is the play. It looks like this dome was kept in a flown lotus. Such type of the design was built, and same treatment was done with the domed pillared pavilion surmounting pavilion surmounting the corner chambers. And now the central octagonal chambers having a real grave in the center. It is surmounted by the lattice. It is surmounted by the lattice as a enclosure. And this structure is also closed with a lattice work, and this lattice has been carved out in a, especially in a geometrical designs. Now see another carving, a beautiful flower has been carved here, but it was not having such a perfection which we come across in case of the Taj or in case of the buildings of Akbar. This is a view of inner ceiling of the half domed of the pistak. Now you see carving took place, niches were built, niches were, some niches are providing an opening, some niches are closed with the lattice work, while other niches are blind and having a carving of the these niches are engraved with a floral designs. And this is an inner view of the mosque, and here the arches divide through the arches. The whole Western Lebanon is divided into a square vase, a chartak type of the pattern became come across. This is another view of the engraved multi-cusp arches of the mosque. It lacks the proportion which generally we come across. And by going through by the survey of the Bibi Ka Roja, one thing is quite clear: architecture under Aurangzeb was subjected to a great decay, and now it was a period of the decline. Thank you very much.